Being broke has patterns and you might be repeating them without knowing. Good news. In this video, I'm going to be letting you know why you are always broke. Yes, I'm talking to you. You can't remember the last time you had a lot of money or some savings or an amount of money you had kept aside without touching. Well, this video is your deliverance because I'm about to, through knowledge, set you free. Let's get right into it. Hi there, welcome once again to another mind transforming and life altering, positively, episode of Mindscale with Olushola. Thank you so much for always grinding with us every single week. It's a pleasure, and this is another reminder to let you know that just before we get right into the juice, kindly subscribe in case you still haven't, because until you subscribe and perhaps turn on your post notification, you might be getting the videos or seeing them later. So kindly do this as fast as you can. I'm waiting. All right, done. Thank you so much once again for being a part of this. Now, I want to get right into it as fast as possible because I had talked earlier about the fact that many people are broke, not just because they feel like it, but sometimes it could be down to some hidden habits that they are yet to take cognizance of. I'll give you, for example, a very interesting statistic by the Journal of Consumer Research in 2021. It's been said that money management is deeply emotional and not just purely mathematical. Sometimes you'll be focusing on the mathematics without actually understanding the emotional factors behind it. Things like behavioral patterns, for example, they drive financial stress, even so many times in high earners. Okay, and so you must pay attention to deeper things than just the mathematics of money management. And so in this video, I want to unravel why many of you are perhaps still broke. This is important. But before I do this, let me just start by giving a very simple example. For some people, it's a case of, oh, I like that, let me have it. Oh, how much is it? Give me a few minutes, I'm coming. Well, if that's you, then you need this particular deliverance. Anyways, I'm not going to give you necessarily an outline of key points like I normally would, but I'm just going to go right into it and speak from my heart as fast as I possibly can as to why many people are still broke, no matter how much money they make and no matter how hard they have tried. I think the very first reason a lot of people are still struggling with financial freedom and money mastery is they have a lifestyle creep. Let me explain exactly what this means. For so many people, as their income rises, so do their expenses. And a lot of time, you have the tendency to spend more money on your wants, disguising them as needs. So a whole lot of times, many people don't know the differentiation between wants and needs. Sometimes as their paycheck increases, they begin to elevate their wants into the arena of their needs. And that's never really the case. You're just deceiving yourself, thinking you really need that thing when it's at best just a want. And this is important because in many cases, this is proof of the fact that you have no spending plan. You have no spending plan. And when you have no spending plan, you make bigger mistakes with bigger paychecks. Sometimes you think that the bigger my paycheck, the more my problems are solved, but that's never really the case. Because until you build discipline, particularly with your expenses at the early stages, it will never go away even when you make more money. And so things like budgeting, for example, will help you, because without the budget, higher income will just scale your bad habits. That's the truth. And so, for example, imagine you're earning about, let's say, $5,000 a month, okay? And you think automatically that when you start earning $10,000 a month, many of your maybe spending habits that you're currently faced with will go. But it will never really go until you are able to build the discipline from now. Because if you cannot manage little, you will never really be able to manage and dutifully steward your resources when you begin to make much more. This is very important. And it brings to fore the subject of impulse spending. Impulse spending and emotional purchases. I think in more cases than not, we are not so in touch with our upbringing as much as we think we do. So, for example, your spending choices are shaped by your upbringing. I mean, your upbringing, your environment, and your fears. And sometimes it's even by your need for identity. Maybe, for example, for some people, they grew up in a classroom where they were clearly the brokest amongst their peers, right? Maybe you got into the school on scholarship and people used to rub their items in your face and many more things and all. And it kind of feels like they undervalued you. And you've always made a vow in some part of your mind that when you make money, you will make sure that all these things they are buying, you also will buy someday. And so without knowing, the most of your spending habit is how do I put it? Is shaped in a bid to fight back at people that you've perhaps even lost touch and communication with today. This is important. This is important. And so sometimes it's been noticed that for some people who grew up with scarcity, they have the tendency to overspend the moment they have access to money. Sometimes not out of recklessness, but as a subconscious way to prove to people that they have made it. Does that speak about you? Am I talking to you? This is very important. And so if you grew up, for example, around luxury, okay, you might normalize sometimes also overspending or high spending, and also sometimes undervalue saving. So here's the point. You need to understand the psychographic factors behind your expenses, because no matter how much budgeting you do from now till tomorrow, it will only make sense if you understand why I'm acting the way I'm acting. Are there some deep-rooted psychological issues or perhaps sociological factors that are determining how I am behaving? Am I trying to prove a point to people? Because until you address that insecurity, you will never really be able to overcome it. And it leads me to one of, I think, the more important points that I think I want to bring out from this is that another thing that I think can help you perhaps move from always being broke is you need to begin to move your mind away from things like income obsession into habit mastery. You must move from income obsession to habit mastery. So you need to understand that your financial health is not just built on things like income obsession. Like, I want to make money. The more money I make, the more money I make. You know, it was Robert Kiyosaki who said something so profound. He said, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. So many people are just so enthusiastic and fascinated about how much more money. I want to make more money. I want to make more money. But in most cases, the case is not more money. Like I said earlier, it's about mastering your habits. Mastering your habits. When last did you track your expenses? When last do you understand your costs? When last did you crave something but told yourself it wasn't time to buy it? So your habits are just as important. Okay, and that, in my opinion, expresses most of what I wanted to say. And if I want to give you some takeaways and I think some wise points, let's say like from brother to brother or brother to sister or friend to friend or coach to student, I'll tell you, for example, some of the things you have to do away with are things like comparison. Okay, that's the truth. That's the truth. So, for example, comparison is actually a trap because you can't see somebody's account balance. You can only see their purchases. And so you're comparing yourself perhaps to somebody earning 5 times more than you because he's driving a Ferrari, you want to get a Ferrari. That's a problem. And so it's very important. Stop comparing yourself with other people and stay in your lane. No two people have the same financial journeys. No, they don't. Your responsibilities are different and things will always change. And that's important. Another thing I want to tell you is I think you need to learn to build some sense of virtue beyond the ephemerals. Look, wealth is invisible. It's not about the cars or the expensive wristwatches. Wealth is more in the investments and the assets, and in many cases in the things many people cannot see. This is important, very important. And so you need to build the right habits, because more income without better habits just increases your lifestyle cost. And so I know many people will say stuff like, no, Olushola, let me make more money and see if I will not keep to it. No, it's not always about making more money. In most cases, it's about building better habits. In fact, it will impress you to find out that building better habits will actually in the end help you make more money. I hope this helps. And this leads me to the very end of today's episode. It's a pretty short one on Mindscale with Olushola. If this has blessed you or touched you in any way or transformed you or impacted you in any way, why not share it with a friend? And do not forget to like this video also, and also turn on post notification after subscribing to ensure that you're the very first person to know when next I drop another impactful video. See you in the next one, and love you so much. Much love.